The Brutalist and its chances at the Academy Awards are being hotly discussed right now as more people get a chance to see it, and as information about its making is being divulged to the public. Did I personally have a good time with the film, or did I find the 3.5 hour runtime, well, brutal? Stick around and I shall let you know my take. Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Sean Morgan and I adore movies. I also adore divisive movies, which Brady Corbett's The Brutalist really seems to be shaping up as. I am not super familiar with Corbett's work on the whole, and I apologize if I mispronounced his name actually there. I think I researched it and have gotten it right. But I want to say right away and right up front that I actually really enjoyed The Brutalist and I'm happy that it exists. In the interest of full disclosure, though, I hated Corbett's Vox Lux, his film right before The Brutalist, unless I am forgetting one in between. I only saw Vox Lux once in theaters, but found the gruesome depictions of violence in that film, namely a act of violence at a school, uh, and an act of domestic terror at a beach. I found those to be far too visceral for my tastes. Like, I'm not anti-violence on film, and I think that the nausea that I felt was part of a very intended, intense reaction by Corbet. But I found it difficult to come to the conclusion as an audience member that Vox Lux had a strong enough thesis overall to justify the kind of pure stomach churning disgust I felt watching those particular scenes unfold. I remember Natalie Portman being very good. I remember Jude Law being very good, but those were my most memorable thoughts walking out of that particular screening. So I say that to say that I was cautious about The Brutalist before sitting down to see it. I kind of had my guard up to a certain degree. And however, I think it ultimately won me over, and it is incredibly well acted and insightful, and obviously very creative and ambitious. There are some criticisms that I think are indeed fair, but I really do believe that the film works as a whole. First, it feels like I should probably address the hot button kind of Twitter film community discourse around the use of AI in the movie. I do not approve of movies using generative AI, but I also am not super well read on what exactly is fact versus fiction regarding the AI in this film, The Brutalist. I think bits and bobs of information are still kind of coming out day to day to kind of piece together a more complete picture, but it is certainly causing waves on the internet. If the AI, for example, was simply being used to sharpen consonants or whatever when Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones are speaking non English, that's less of a no no to me than the accusation that I've also heard that the film uses generative AI to make certain architectural sketches. The latter accusation is much worse to me, much more of a grave kind of um, no. I'm going to use that word again. It's much worse because the movie is about Adrian Brody's character expressing himself through this architectural work, right? So that's, much more of a kind of soulless use of that kind of technology. Um, Regardless, I find it silly to throw the entire brutalist baby out with the bathwater because of one kind of transgression, though I do believe wholeheartedly that people should make a massive stink about this stuff when filmmakers do use AI. A film that also comes to mind is Late Night with the Devil, which also admitted to using AI for certain interstitials, which, of course, it is a slippery slope. And though I like things about Late Night with the Devil, I don't begrudge people who gave those filmmakers shit for using AI. Excuse my language. But like, I have worked on a number of TV and film sets in my day, and it is a slippery slope that will cost people jobs in the long run. The people that I met working in television and film, and meet, when I do have brushes with that industry, they work incredibly long hours, and with 110% of their effort, they are already being taken advantage of in certain respects because of the way that the industry is set up, 10 to 12-hour days being the norm. So, they should at least be able to, get the work in the first place. You know what I mean? If it's going to be long, grilling work, at least let them have it instead of outsourcing it to a machine. Um, So, The Brutalist, to kind of refocus on the movie itself, it follows Adrian Brody's Laszlo Toth, a Holocaust survivor who immigrates to America and ends up using his skills as an architect to kind of by accident endear himself to Guy Pearce's character, a rich philanthropist slash businessman Harrison Van Buren, and his children, played by Stacey Martin and Joe Alwyn. Felicity Jones joins the group of characters in the second half of the film after the intermission as Laszlo's wife. Jones plays Erzsébet, who was separated from Laszlo during the war and survived a concentration camp of her own. The movie follows the couple as they try to assimilate to America, and as Laszlo tries to navigate his relationship with Harrison Van Buren, who initially seems like a well meaning patron of the arts, commissions Laszlo to build a community center. But Van Buren turns out to be more of a kind of evil symbol of American capitalism than initially expected, given his kind of uh, fun and engaging kind of personality earlier in the film. He's prickly, but he's funny, and those layers kind of, I think, are very deftly shed throughout the course of the runtime in a way that is particularly affecting. Guy Pearce is fantastic in this role. Um, I also think that the messaging of this movie is fantastically well laid out. The immigrant experience of, boundless opportunity and the idea of an American dream achievable to all is, according to this film, pure fiction. The ruling class in America treats immigrants and those of lower classes as trifles, playthings, practically animals. The American machine runs entirely on exploitation of people who have nowhere else to turn, who may, in their own countries, be respected and lauded in, their fields of choice, and those people are meant to be grateful and deferential for being allowed access to just proximity of wealth in America, not the wealth itself, just the proximity to wealth. They're meant to be deferential and grateful. And, even as those people are being toyed and abused, they are expected to put a smile on because they're not from here. And wouldn't that be not gracious of them? You know what I mean? It's is some of that messaging maybe a little on the nose? Sure. The film beginning with the symbol of the Statue of Liberty literally askew and upside down is not subtle by any means, but I did like it. It is a striking image. And, did we have to have major spoiler alert here, by the way? Did we have to have, spoiler alert, did we have to have Guy Pearce's character Van Buren literally sexually assault Laszlo during the second half of the film to drive home the point of the American elite taking advantage in the worst way possible of those with less means and resources? Maybe I could see the argument for that particular sequence being a bridge too far. But sometimes, particularly in this day and age, I will be honest, I am recording this just a few hours, frankly, less than 24 hours after the inauguration of the 2025 president elect. And I think sometimes subtlety is not necessary in certain times of history when it comes to art. And this is, I think, arguably one of those times. Does the movie also have some general cliches of Oscar films past or Oscar Beatty films past? Sure. The character becomes addicted to drugs. The character has a black sidekick. The character's wife, in some respects, is kind of fulfilling the traditional Oscar movie wife role. She's sick. She's rolling around in a wheelchair. She's doting. She's supportive. She delivers breathy speeches. And I understand why those why those criticisms or cliches might turn some people off. I really, really do. However, I do still see it as kind of a radical act to make a movie with such a message and to state that message so emphatically. The country we enjoy is built on the backs of people who were exploited. We sell ourselves as a melting pot with abundant opportunity, but once people who have bought into that idea arrive, or people who come here with no other real choice, we keep them in their place and treat them like objects. It is plain evil in a lot of respects. And I also think there are a few other interpretations of the movie that have been circulating, particularly in relation to uh, the Israel Palestine conflict. I don't feel super equipped to dive into that. I am unquestionably pro Palestine, and it seems like Brady Corbet, the filmmaker, also has those same sympathies. So I don't necessarily take the film as a sort of justification for the rise of Zionism, though there is a specific character in Adrian Brody's niece who is like unquestionably someone who is a devout kind of Zionist. Um, I don't think that is what the film is about, point blank. Some people seem to have that opinion. It's not one that I agree with. And then I also do think there is some truth to the narrative of the film being a meta telling of Courbet having frustration with the process of making a film. Brody is very unwavering. Brody's character, I should say, is very unwavering in his vision and keeps getting sidetracked by his genius is sidetracked by the interference of these business people with ideas that are purely born from saving pennies. And I think it is worthwhile to, also engage with this as kind of a meta tale about the process of making complicated artistic films as well. That's certainly a valid reading, but I don't think it's the only reading. Um, there's a lot to chew on throughout this film, and I also think there are quite a few unique things about the film that I, didn't necessarily see coming, and those deserve credit too. For example, I think it is very moving and satisfying when the ultimate reveal occurs about why exactly Adrian Brody's character is designing the main project we see in the movie in a very specific way. I don't really want to spoil that. It comes in like the very last scene of the film, and I think it's very effective and very moving. Um, and, like I said, this is such a weighty movie and such a long movie that I feel as though I could break it down with people for hours, to be honest. I love when films come along like this, regardless of if they're perfect or not. The Brutalist certainly is not perfect. It's not a film even that I think wins many Oscars this year, as things like Amelia Perez I still haven't seen Amelia Perez, but it seems like it's building up a lot of momentum. A Complete Unknown is picking up a little bit of steam. And, I'm recording this before the announcements of the Oscar nominations this year, and I am sure that The Brutalist will win some award somewhere. It'll certainly be nominated in several categories. It'll win something somewhere, but maybe not in any of the big categories. Um, that remains to be seen. But I don't know. I'm just very appreciative that something like this can come out and I guess be such a talking point for so long, particularly in certain respects. Like I said, I mentioned it earlier, and the character is very difficult to watch in many respects. But Guy Pearce especially is quite fantastic in this movie, and I think even just talking about where his character's arc ends up, that alone could like fill an entire video. I think, yeah, the character, without giving too much away, kind of evaporates from the story and leaves the audience with a lot more questions than answers regarding his kind of psychology, his intentions. um a lot of his inner workings do become very clear by that point, but the manner in which he exits the film just sparks so many other interesting ideas and potential theories. Not that I think those are questions that need answers or theories that need to be solved, but I think it's very, very kind of fun and entertaining that he's written out in the way that he is. And I guess I can't really go on about it without just spoiling it. So I'm not going to. I think that you should see the movie for yourself and then have a dialogue with someone that who has also seen it. Um, where does this film rank on my scale of A-list, amazing, average, abysmal, or needs to be abolished? I think that The Brutalist is an amazing movie and accomplishment, and amazing. So I think that's it's like a probably like a 4 out of 5. Valid criticisms aside, it's a movie worth your time, and it is certain to spark conversation if you give it your attention throughout, whether or not you ultimately land on as positive a note as I did. I saved $14.99 with this A-list slot. I saw this as part of an experiment where I try to see as many movies as possible with AMC A-list in a single year. My girlfriend and I saw this in IMAX for our date night. Um, we considered driving out of our way to see it in 70 millimeter. And when I say we considered it, I mean we strongly considered it. Um, but we're also in the process of planning a move, I should say. Excuse me, I'm kind of stumbling here. We're in the process of planning a move, so we made the more adult decision to save some time, have a more relaxed date night that did not require so much travel. Still, seeing a film like this in IMAX and saving $14.99 was well worth it. I mean, the film was in fact 3 hours and 30 minutes, including the intermission. So you definitely get a bang for your buck there, even if you do not use AMC A List or any sort of gift card there. Did you see The Brutalist, and what did you think of its tropes, controversies, performances, style, messages, or what do you think of its chances at the Oscars? Let me know in the comments if you like. Feel free to subscribe to this channel or like this video to get my thoughts on some further theatrical releases. I may also make a Oscar nomination kind of reaction thing. Still kind of stewing on whether or not that's something I'd like to do. But regardless, thank you so much for watching this specific video, and I'll see you next time to talk about, gosh, I don't even know what's coming out soon. Definitely The Last Showgirl. That's on my list. So I'd love to get around to that. But don't hold me to that. Thank you anyway. Bye.